Hello.
Hey, you stole my hello. Hello.
That's how Shannon does it. I do it in a monotone so that you know you're about to get spooked.
As opposed to my hello.
You set the tone of too much happiness, and then we start talking about horrible things like the dark web.
Honestly, that's fair. We have to give the audience realistic expectations of what's to come. So, hi everyone. Welcome to Scary Talk episode 45. Episode 45. Oh my god.
Yeah, we're middle
5 more
aged.
episodes till episode 50. I know. We got to do something special for 50. I don't know if we're going to summon the demon or kill ourselves. Something special.
Oh my god.
So, tune in for that.
Oh god.
How are you, Shannon?
You know, I am okay. I'm not ready for a suicide pact. Maybe we can save that for episode 66. I think that seems fitting.
Fair.
No, I'm doing good. I actually have like a horrible stomach ache, and it's been like this for the past 2 days, and I don't know what's wrong with me.
You're possessed?
Oh my god, maybe it's Zozo. Maybe he climbed up my ass and went straight into my small intestine. That could possibly be it, but I think it's more likely lactose that's just like running through my bloodstream.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The devil's juice. So it's still demonic. I mean, lactose.
Oh, absolutely.
Dangerous stuff, I'm telling you.
The things they do to those cows. I'm just saying.
And the things that lactose does to my body, I'm telling you.
May as well be demons.
One day, yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. Today we are talking space conspiracies.
Oh, yeah, we are. You know why? Because, you know, the world's a beautiful place, but there's things outside of the world that we don't get to touch on very often because Andre doesn't like talking about probing as much as I do.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I think it's gonna be fun. I think that there's just a lot out there in space that we're not talking about, and someone's got to. So this podcast will. Here we go.
So we're gonna start talking about something that a lot of you are gonna think is pretty crazy, because I think it's crazy, but.
No way.
Wow, amazing sarcasm. But it is interesting that we're going to be talking about, first and foremost, the hollow earth theory. You know, I feel hollow inside just thinking about it. Just kidding.
So you can relate to this conspiracy.
Yeah, no, it's actually interesting because I was hoping for a lot more crazy theories on why this is happening, but I just found a lot of people being like, yeah, aliens, like it's just aliens, and it's like, okay, but like what if it was something else? So we'll kind of explore some of that.
People are so unimaginative. It's obviously Bigfoot that's living in there with his family. He lives inside the hollow earth.
Yeah, with the fucking, what are they, melon heads? They just do whatever they want in there. And also I noticed a lot of the content on Hollow Earth is in podcast format, so we're not that original, but you know, we try to be the best we can be. So are you ready to learn, Andre?
I am ready, dude. I'm ready. Go.
Okay, so I want to start out with an edgy quote because we know I'm the real edgelord here. So this quote says, "The best possible explanation for the moon is observational error. The moon doesn't exist." So that was said by Erwin Shapiro, a Harvard-Smithsonian person at the Center for Astrophysics, Physics, a doctor.
Gotcha.
So that is one interesting spooky theory, because there is a lot of theory that the moon's a hologram, you know, that it's just a part of this flat earth conspiracy or the Matrix conspiracy. We're not going to dive into that, but the moon as like what you would consider a moon, which, can we talk about how meta that is? They named it the moon and it's a moon. So that's obviously suspicious, right? Like,
that just sounds unoriginal to me. I don't know about meta. I think people were just very not feeling creative that day.
I think they were trying to convince you like it is a moon when it's not. So basically like naming your child human even though you know it's an alien.
I guess it does sound kind of forced, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, look at the moon.
Exactly.
It is a moon. Nothing else to see here.
Don't ask any questions. It's the moon. Exactly. So that's kind of what I think of when I'm approaching this theory. So the moon as a moon doesn't exist, but it could exist in another format, meaning it's a fucking big ass spaceship. And that's what people actually think is happening. That's why they think the moon is hollow. They think that there's like aliens in there and they're watching us and monitoring our every every move, and probably send.
Well, we have more than one moon, dude. Conspiracy theory. Talk about that.
Oh my god! And maybe that's why they like the UFOs are always visiting us. They're literally right there. That's a good theory.
Yeah, they're so close. They're just coming to ask for a cup of sugar.
And you know what? We give it to them in the form of semen. Um, so there's another quote that someone said. I didn't get the name. Apparently, this is a well-researched podcast. We're professionals. The moon is bigger than it should be, apparently older than it should be, and much lighter in mass than it should be. It occupies an unlikely orbit and is so extraordinary that all existing explanations for its presence are fraught with difficulties, and none of them could be considered remotely watertight. That's like that's a gushing endorsement for the moon doesn't belong. So I guess if you want to get technical with it, ever since we've been able to look at the moon, there's been some weird things about it that, most people just say are coincidences. Not necessarily signs of something sinister or alien. But I guess, like, the moon is in the perfect, like, orbit of Earth, that if it didn't exist, Earth probably wouldn't have, like, evolved to contain life. Like, we're in this perfect zone. Like how we're close to the sun, just barely scorching, So people think
to be fair, like, there's so many solar systems and galaxies. Like, I feel like just by the law of probability, at some point, it was bound to happen that one of these accidents would turn into a livable planet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but devil's advocate here, okay? We're going to play this game. The moon is so much bigger than, like, regular moons. Most planets, their moons are, like, not even an eighth of the size of our moon. Like, don't you think that's strange?
I mean, I don't think it's strange that it's so big.
She's thick.
I mean, I heard that, like, she is really thick. I heard that. Like, some like, shit, like, crashed into the Earth, like, billions of years ago. So it got a big chunk, and that chunk couldn't escape the Earth's gravitational pull, and so it just kind of stuck here, and now we have a moon. That's how moons happen. And ours just happens to be big.
I mean, I think that that's probably true. But also, we have to go down this rabbit hole if we're going to go down it.
I know, we do. You're right. The moon is made out of cheese, and it's hollow. Go ahead.
It tastes delicious. No, apparently it's also 400, I think it's light years? No, not light years. It's...
No,
I don't know what I'm talking about. It's in, like, this weirdly, like, numerically accurate distance between, the sun and us. Like, there's just a lot of weird shit going on. So I guess we can talk about fiction for a bit, because this is, it's fun, it's weird. This actually...
Yeah, let's.
This hypothesis actually did occur in fiction, like a lot of things that probably aren't real do. Not shading vampires at all, but we all know Anne Rice, and Dracula, for that matter. So H.G. Wells, if anyone knows about H.G. Wells, we all know this motherfucker. Science fiction. He wrote War of the Worlds. And in 1901, he wrote The First Men in the Moon. And I'm sure you can guess from that title, it was a hollow, I guess, moon, obviously, with people inside of it. And so out of this, we begin to see things that are kind of like, well, maybe there's some truth to that. Like, why don't we investigate? And so in 1970, this is 70 years later? 69 years later. The Soviet Academy of Sciences had two scientists, Michael Vassin and Alexander Shcherbakov. I don't know how to say that. I'm very sorry. They proposed a hypothesis that the moon was a spaceship created by unknown beings. And in this article, it was titled, "Is the Moon the Creation of Alien Intelligence?" Their hypothesis was basically talking about something more superficial that I wouldn't lend a lot of credence to, except they were the first ones to kind of put this into the zeitgeist in our time. So they were saying, okay, look at the moon. There's a bunch of large craters, and people say like meteor impact, but they were saying, okay, these are too shallow to actually have been caused by meteors. Some of them are flat or have convex bottoms, and so they hypothesized that the meteors were making a cup-shaped depression in the rocky surface of the moon, while the larger meteors were drilling through a rocky layer and hitting an armored hull underneath. So what they were saying is, just by looking at this, you can tell that there's actually like something inside of the moon that isn't Earth. Like, it's hitting something, and that something is hiding something within it. That's whatever. Maybe. Let's just assume that that's true. So another thing that makes people believe this is the ringing. Have you ever heard of this?
I feel like I heard of this in like a creepypasta, but
Oh.
I've never experienced it or
No,
anything.
apparently it's a real thing. So this is from this website called Gaia, but it's also on the Wikipedia page because it's genuinely a real thing. The moon emits a noise, like it rings if something hits it, so people think it's hollow. So the Apollo missions and the moon landings, they obviously people don't really believe in them or whatever, but at the latter end of the Apollo missions, NASA astronauts placed seismic recording devices on the surface of the moon in order to document the earthquakes, or I guess you would say moonquakes. Their equipment recorded activity ranging from meteorite strikes to explosions, crash landings of the Apollo rockets. Even the sun's heat created seismic activity. And they basically heard the moon ringing like a bell through this equipment. It reverberated for hours at a time. And at this point, when this was happening near the end of Apollo, they didn't have any clear idea of what the moon was actually made of. So, it's maybe, I don't know, but they definitely heard it at this point in time. And so that was clear that the moon was not as dense as Earth. So it could be hollow if it rings like a bell. I don't know.
Continue. Go ahead.
Are you sure you don't want to say something? You can
I was
rebuttal.
just, I guess I was just gonna say, like, well, what do we know now? Like,
Yeah.
okay, that was at the end of Apollo, but is there anything? I love how I'm being the skeptic here and you're not.
No.
But is there anything that we know now more?
Oh, absolutely. It's well, I guess the moon is made out of whatever composition, and that's just what it does. Like, it's obviously not hollow. We've used different types of waves to like basically give an X-ray of the moon. So if you believe the scientists aren't just planting those X-rays, then you kind of have to believe, like, it's probably not hollow. Lunar seismology
Gotcha.
lunar seismology experiments in today's times have shown that the moonquakes are very different from earthquakes, obviously. But because of that, or I guess just as a symptom of that, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, that doesn't actually prove that it's large, that it's empty. So it's basically like, that would be cool, but there's absolutely no proof of it, Yeah, I mean,
I'm not convinced.
oh, wait, you're not convinced that it is or that it isn't?
I'm not convinced that it is hollow. I'm convinced of a lot of things.
I'm not convinced that it is either, at all, because, like, why? I mean, it could be harboring those, like, what is it, spider aliens that you had spoken about before?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's
Apollo 18.
Maybe it's like a spider nest or spider egg.
Maybe. I just, like, for me, it's mostly just the question of, well, I guess if it's aliens, then, it's because it's aliens. But let's say, like, it's NASA or something. That doesn't even make sense, because, like, they weren't around whenever the moon was, like, the moon's been there for a long ass time.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, let's say there's some, I don't know, because there's also, we didn't actually research this one, but there's also the conspiracy of like the moon is a hologram. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So like in that case, it's about NASA trying to hide, like trying to make us believe that the moon is there, even though it's a hologram. But to me, it always comes back to like why,
Yeah.
like why. What's the point?
I know,
And with the
right?
hollow moon, it's kind of similar. Like, I guess if aliens are living there, then that's the point. But that just doesn't seem very plausible to me. I don't know.
Yeah, what if it's literally just a big light up in the sky and they want us to think that it's something cooler? Maybe Earth is flat.
Dude.
I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, hell. What if like you were looking at the moon one night, and then all of a sudden you saw this like gigantic hand, like a shadow of like a shadow of a hand, get close to the moon, and just pull one of those light cords, go, and then the moon goes out.
That would be iconic. I mean, if you think about it, the moon does have like proven psychological effects on people. You know, like when there's a full moon, there's more crime or people go a little bit crazy. So maybe it's like a giant mood light that the government controls.
Interesting. Huh. Okay.
You're just like, okay, that's fine.
I gotta think about that now. I didn't think about that one.
So here's an interesting little tidbit. According to Zulu legend, and Zulu, they were a South African tribe. So they had a theory that our hollow moon was put in place by two brothers with scaly fish-like skin. So Wayne and Umpaku, I don't know if I said that right, brought the moon to Earth after stealing it from a great fire dragon. And I kind of live for this one. I would much rather believe in this. They apparently emptied out the egg-like satellite of its yolk, subsequently placing it in orbit around Earth. Prior to this, the planet was said to have been shrouded in a sheath of watery mist, which came raining down to Earth once the moon came into orbit. So basically saying, without the moon, we would have no rain. And that's kind of beautiful, in a way.
It is. It is beautiful.
It's beautiful. So,
but boy, is this a rabbit hole.
It's a real deep rabbit hole. Like, if you believe in this, like, you have been smoking something that I have not been smoking, and good for you. So this is actually kind of true. I mean, it's true, but the way you interpret it is up to you. So one of Apollo's ALSEPs, which I guess was like a satellite or, you know, whatever was tracking, it denoted a cloud of water vapor on the moon. And 40 years later, NASA reported finding the presence of water in rock samples brought back from these missions, saying, okay, this discovery is kind of huge because we didn't know there was water on the moon. Apparently, this water had twice the levels of a deuterium isotope compared to water found on Earth. And basically, what they were saying is, like, this is a really good example of the possibility that within the moon is about 600 million tons of water. So if the moon is hollow, it's actually full of water. Which is kind of crazy because then that just makes me think Atlantis. Atlantis has crawled up the moon. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that makes literally no sense.
Why?
Because Atlantis didn't happen inside the moon. Like,
well, I'm not saying like actual Atlantis. I'm saying maybe the aliens are inside the water. You know, like fish aliens.
Aquatic aliens.
Yeah, aquatic
That's
ass
new.
aliens.
That's new.
But I don't know, like, how would they get in there? How are they trapped in there? I guess there's a lot of issues.
I think there's like a little. I think there's like a little door. Like, there's just a door in only one spot, and you have to go in there, get in line. That's how you get it. And there's like stairs, and then you enter the water, and then you're in.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know, but
there's like a rail and like stairs, like when you get into a pool, so that you don't slip.
And there's a diving board.
Yeah, to get into the moon.
Oh my god. So just going back to some folklore in Greek mythology, people thought that the earth might be hollow and that hell was inside the earth. So people took it a step further and said, let's say that hell is within the moon. Let's say that hell is literally watching over us every single night, forcing us to go insane. Um, and it is all just reaching.
I mean, for all we know, the inside of the moon is a black hole, and within that black hole there is hell. Or the dark side of the moon is hell, and also it has water, and like, I mean,
There's the other thing. Like, is the dark side of the moon like a real thing? Like, do we really never get to see the other? Like, is that?
it's. I mean, we don't, but like,
We know it's there.
yeah, we. It's there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but also, like, we know it's there the same way we know the moon is not hollow. But I mean, obviously, we can question whatever we want, right? At will. So, no. But the dark side of the moon, really, technically, it's not the dark side of the moon. I think light hits it somehow, but like we just don't see it.
Yeah.
So it's more accurate to call it the far side of the moon. I guess, yeah. The moon's like tidally locked to the Earth, and so like our pull is too strong or something like that, and so we can only see one face basically. But
Okay, here's my
Interesting.
question. Here is my
Yeah.
question. What do you think of the moon landing?
Ugh. This is too much. What do I think of the moon landing? Now
Sure.
I think the moon landing is real.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, not I mean now after what you said. I meant like recently, because for the longest time I was like, oh, it's fake, whatever.
What the fuck?
But now I think it was real.
Andre.
I know.
What made you convinced that it was fake?
Well, just that like a lot of the things that I thought were fake about it were apparently rebutted, and I read articles about it, and it seemed sensical, so I was like, okay, I guess it was real. But I mean, listen, for the longest time I definitely was like, nope, didn't happen, it wasn't a Hollywood soundstage. Fucking like Kubrick directed it, like it's not real. Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of stuff related to the moon and all that is kind of nonsense because scientists are the most curious people, and if it was hollow, we would probably know because they'd be so hyped to tell us all about it. You know what I mean? Like, they're always...
Well, that's the thing. Yes, unless there was a secret government reason
There is
for
so
us to not know.
There is so not. Because at the end of the day, like, that doesn't affect us. It doesn't affect our capitalism. It doesn't affect what we buy. Like, it doesn't... Like, we're not... I don't know. I just don't... They're... You know, just let them have their hollow moon if it's hollow. You know? Like...
That's what you'll think, Shannon, but there are so many markets that depend on the moon being solid, like as a rock. Like, hello, can you market the moon as a ball of cheese if in reality it's a fucking shell of cheese?
Yeah, because that would be delicious. Like, isn't there, like, pasta shells and you just, like, put some cheese up in there?
I don't know. This is all kind of silly, but I love it.
Well, that's what I have for you. I actually did try to find stuff that was, like, more creepypasta and, like, you know, see if anyone knows anything about this. But it seems like everyone on Reddit was just like, this is fake. Which is the first time for Reddit, in my opinion.
Well, do you remember that that creepypasta that I sent you not so long ago that was like, don't look at the moon or something? Mm-hmm. That's pretty
No, that
scary.
was-
Whenever I think about... Yeah, about the moon, and I think about something scary, I think about that, because reading that creeped me out.
That was so good, too. Was that also, like, a YouTube video or something? Like, it was, like, a commercial, or was that something else?
It's really weird. I sent you a YouTube video that had nothing to do with that, but, like, actually shared similar undertones, so I thought it was really funny that was, like, coincidence, so I sent it to you. No, it's, like, this different thing. It's, like, an ARG, but I sent it to you because I found it so creepy. It was, like, a government announcement. I don't know if anyone can, like, tell us, maybe I'm able to remember, I don't know, like, where it comes from, but it was this ARG, and it had something to do with the moon, and one of the videos that they posted was about, like, this TV channel all of a sudden goes dark because there's a government announcement telling people to not look at the moon because it's dangerous, but it gets like spliced with a different announcement, seemingly also from the government, that says, no, do look at the moon, look at it now. And it's like really creepy because clearly, you know what I mean, there's two competing parties there.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah, but like the atmosphere of the video is really what makes it. Like, I'm not doing it justice. It was horrifying. I hate government broadcast kind of shit. Like, I just terrifies me. I don't know. I feel like the world's about to end.
Oh, you know, like that beeping noise when there's like a disaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beep. beep. Yeah, makes me want to vomit.
All right, what do you have for me?
Okay, well, yes, let me tell you. Okay, so speaking of the moon, I have I have a spooky moon theory as well. Turns out that the far side of the moon actually has a secret lunar base on it, and it's either Nazis or aliens. So,
Oh
are you
my
ready?
god, what? I don't know if I am.
All right, so okay, this is according to I got a lot of this from an article from the Mirror. This is like a UK tabloid, so you know it's legit. Um,
We
I love
stand.
like what they. I love like the starting like sentence on this. It's Neil Armstrong took man's first steps on the moon 50 years ago today. I guess this article is like from 2000. Oh wait, no, it is 2019. Oh my god,
That was only 50
dude,
years
50
ago?
years ago. Wow.
That's like nothing.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess I just thought it was longer. Okay, so 50 years ago today, but has humanity left an even bigger mark? Let's find out.
Ooh.
So, according to this article, some people claim that an ancient civilization has made the far side of the moon their home, away from the prying eyes of humanity. Because, of course, were we to see it, we would just blow it up, as we do everything that is different. So the poor aliens are they're actually just pure and peaceful, and they're just trying to hide from us. So live on the far side of the moon in a secret lunar base.
Honestly, like,
No.
can we fucking blame them?
No, we can't. Oh my god, I just thought of something really fucked up. Like, what if, because we're gonna start like colonizing the moon at some point, like what if we do find aliens and we do make him do like another fucking Trail of Tears like that?
Oh no. You know,
That is so fucked.
that's so what would happen. Like, the fucking movie Avatar, isn't that just what that was, like, about? Like,
I mean, a little bit, yeah. It's basically like yeah, it's like we're taking your land by.
yeah. Bye, Felicia.
Even though it's like straight up a whole ass different planet, where we're
Yeah.
like, nope, ours now, fuck off.
Oh my god.
Okay, but many think the truth is actually far more connected to mankind and not aliens. So people think that that secret lunar base, that secret alien city is actually a human lunar base set up by one of the Earth's superpowers.
Oh my god.
Some people claim, I literally have zero idea how the fuck this timeline works, because I'm pretty sure like spaceships weren't a thing in the 40s, but some people claim that the Nazis managed to colonize and set up a base on the moon.
Why is it always
while
the
others
Nazis?
insist- Because why not? Because you can pin anything on them and not sound ass crazy, because no one likes them, so people are going to be inclined to be like, sure, they fuck dogs and flew to the moon
Oh my
and they
God.
helped the aliens build the pyramids and whatever.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I mean, have you ever heard that like the reason like Nazi Germany was able to rise to power so fast, blah blah blah, was because of their technological advancements, and advancements in part were thanks to alien interference. Have you ever heard of that theory?
I think I
That's
have,
like a thing.
but I heard more about how Hitler was like into alchemy and dark magic or something.
That is a fact. That's not even like a yeah. So he was, but of course that doesn't mean that he was talking to aliens. So the theory is that this guy and his party had some touch with some intelligent outside life, and I don't buy that. But listen, the kind of shit they were pulling back then in that country. I mean, the experiments they were doing.
Yeah.
Like I would like. If you told me like, oh, also they talk to aliens, I wouldn't be like shocked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was either the Nazis, which I if they were, I guess they figured out space travel before anyone else did, and we just didn't know about it, and I don't know. This seems implausible, but it was either the Nazis or it was actually the U.S. That has a huge complex on the far side of the moon right now. We just don't know it, and they're hiding it from us because reasons? Question mark.
Oh! I got it. They're hiding every single
What?
celebrity clone and all of their backups, and then the cyborg celebrity clones.
Ooh, Dude, fuck yeah. So when a celebrity dies, they can just bring him back. Except when a celebrity actually dies. Like, why didn't they just, like, bring a Michael Jackson clone when he died then? That doesn't make sense.
Because Michael Jackson was killed under mysterious conspiratorial circumstances, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So they don't want any reminiscent Jackson Jackson being. What was that?
So you're saying they bring back the celebrities unless it was the government themselves who wanted them dead.
Exactly. That is what I am saying. This is why you're
Interesting.
here, to rephrase my nonsense and my gross coughs.
Hee hee. Okay.
Ew.
Rest in peace. So, oh my god, this June
you
was
there?
10 years of his death. That's fucking wild, dude. I was in 6th grade when he died. I was in, like, my 6th-year graduation trip, and I was like, Michael Jackson's dead. And I was like, this trip sucks. I'm sad. Anyway, back to this. Yeah, so people think that Adolf Hitler landed on the moon back in 1942. Either that or the U.S. did it sometime. I know, some point in the 60s and stayed there and built a fucking moon base. Okay, whatever. There's a Bulgarian researcher called Vladimir Tersiski that claims that he has evidence to prove this theory. He says, this is a quote, "Ever since their first day of landing on the moon, the Germans started boring and tunneling under the surface, and by the end of the war, there was a Nazi research base on the moon." So he's supporting the German theory, not the U.S. theory. Okay. Thoughts so far?
When Adolf Hitler landed on the moon, just that statement alone, I think.
Oh, yeah. Also, it wasn't like his men. Like, it was Adolf himself. He was like, "I has to go to the moon."
Oh my god. Why didn't he just stay there? Like, why did he have to come back? And did the aliens want him? Did they want to help this pasty motherfucker out?
I have no idea. But okay, listen. So, yeah, so apparently this guy has evidence. He says, like, that's what the Nazis did. Some people think that it's not as far-fetched that this could be a thing, that there could be a secret base on the far side of the moon. Apparently last year, China landed a rover on the far side of the moon. So congrats, China. And they're planning another 4 lunar missions based on the success of this one. And it's possible that soon they could build a research base on the far side of the moon. Now, here's the thing. That is plausible because it is 2019. Also, the article itself says that, like, based on this, they're going to do 4 more whole-ass explorations, and then they're going to establish a research base. But even then, a research base is not a whole-ass, like, lunar site. Like, it's just a little, you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking buildings here. So
can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't want to freak you out too much or anything, but when you were talking, it kind of went silent on my end, and then it came back in this weirdly distorted robotic voice of you talking, and I think possibly the government is listening.
I think so. I think they're onto us because they figured out that the moon is shell cheese filled with water that has a pool door to enter, and also a lunar base on its far side that's just also made out of cheese.
This is the one time you don't believe it. That was really creepy. I'm sure it has something to do with
No,
the
I believe that happened, what you said, but I mean,
maybe it's
no,
it's,
I don't think
it's our number one fan.
I think Trump has more important things to tend to at this moment. Tell me if you agree.
Who said it was the American government? I didn't say that.
Fair ass point, honestly. Maybe it's, what's his name? The Chinese. I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. Okay, listen. So, yeah. So, but even if that's possible now, like, again, it's not literally right now, 2019. It's more like in the near future, and like, even then, like, now bringing that back to the 1940s, like, with what fucking technology did the Nazis do that? Like, none, right? Like, they didn't do that.
No.
Okay, so
wouldn't we have, like, seen it launching into space too? Like, wouldn't we have been like, hey, what's that going up to the moon?
I mean, like, yes, but also maybe, you know, lack of photographic evidence. People were busy dying because there was a war, so maybe they didn't notice. I don't know. So, but anyway, yeah, apparently right now China and the US and Russia and the EU are all discussing whether to build a research base a whole station on the moon. So it's definitely a thing that is gonna happen if it hasn't already happened. But the theory is it has already happened and it's secret and it's there. And it's secret because question mark. I mean, if it's Nazi, then it has to be secret. I get that. But if it's like a U.S. like, do you think the U.S. would want to boast about that?
No.
I mean, unless they're like dealing with alien stuff, then they would want to keep it hush hush. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So, something else I have for you is the lost cosmonaut conspiracy theory. This one's pretty creepy and not actually far-fetched at all. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I don't know. It really did creep me out when I read about it. I also didn't know about it incredibly because apparently it's like a big space conspiracy theory, but I just hadn't heard about it. The gist of it is that there's this conspiracy theory that alleges that Soviet cosmonauts, so we're talking what, late 60s, early 70s, went to outer space before the first man who officially went to space. This official man, his name is Yuri Gagarin, and he is regarded as the first man to go to space. The Russians beat us to that, and then we beat them to the moon. That's the story, right? So this theory basically posits that no, there were a couple of cosmonauts before Yuri that went to space, but their missions failed, they died, and so Soviet Russia tried to cover it up. Okay, now, you know that we sent like a dog, or they sent a dog out in space, and then we sent like a monkey at some point, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So this isn't like, I mean, it really isn't far-fetched at all. Like, it's not like they were suicide missions like they were with the dogs, right? Because the dog can operate the machine back to Earth, but like a human could.
Know that, Andre.
Smart dogs. Okay. So it's not that like they were suicide missions. Like, I mean, Soviet Russia could have had all the best intentions. It's just that the technology wasn't there, and so the missions failed and they died. And then they try to cover it up, which is why it doesn't sound far-fetched at all to me.
Does Russia have the best intentions, or were they all just really, really drunk? Were they like, yeah, let's send them into space? Why not?
I mean, probably both. But what I'm saying is, like, I doubt they were like, yes, we specifically intend for this person to get in here. They just don't know it's a suicide mission. Like, I don't think, why would they do that? Like, if they can still keep sending animals if that's the case. If they really don't think their ship's gonna make it back. So they must have thought the ship was gonna make it back, that the technology was there, that they had it, but they didn't. So because of that, because of the fact that it's not nearly as conspiratorial, but rather just an accident that they wanted to cover up because of bad PR, I don't know, I kind of believe this. 2 human space flights prior to the official guy, according to this theory, and at least 2 cosmonauts died in those attempts, according to the theory. Like, there were more than 1 cosmonaut per space flight, so, but at least one of them died each space flight. 1 person. Another cosmonaut, his name is Vladimir Ilyushin. He's believed to have landed off course and have been held by the Chinese government. And then, like, I guess he died in China or whatever. So, according to this theory, the Soviet Union tried to suppress this information, not only of the dead cosmonauts, but also of the one that came back but was held. Because, again, it was all bad PR. This was at the height of the Cold War, and they couldn't seem weak to the U.S. or like they had made a mistake, right? They had to keep strong face. I don't know. The political climate surrounding this honestly makes it much more believable to me. Like, it makes sense. And also, what are the chances that the first man they sent to the moon, like, he did it and it was a success? Like, like, things don't usually work out first try like that. I mean, I know that. I don't know. Was Neil Armstrong the first man? I mean, yeah, he was the first man we sent to the moon. So I guess it is possible. Things do work out the first try. And, people do tests on Earth before sending these things out to space. So it's possible very much. But I don't know. Something smells fishy to me here. There's a lot of evidence to support this theory. A lot of it is inconclusive, but some of it isn't. Thoughts so far, actually. What are your thoughts so far? Do you believe in this?
I don't think that it's completely out of the realm of possibility. Like, it's not hollow Earth theory, or sorry, hollow moon theory, like that's not crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Like why wouldn't they cover that up? And it's kind of like the whole thing of like people still teach in schools that Columbus was the first one to reach the Americas, and it was fully the Vikings. Like
It was?
there's yeah, it was the Vikings.
Huh.
The Vikings got there like 100 years prior. It's just that Columbus colonized it. So,
Wait, but like,
but he wasn't the first one to discover
why did the
it.
Vikings not stay? Right? Like, what?
Because the Vikings like liked where they lived. Like they didn't give a fuck. They're not gonna like kill a bunch of people for. I mean, I don't know if
But they
Vikings
left
did.
evidence that they were there?
Yeah, they had like written about it and all this stuff, and then Columbus was like, "No, it was me. It was me."
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that. The more
Yeah,
you know.
well,
I learned some history today.
because there is a narrative that is shaped specifically to ignore any and all other people outside of America, and that is what our country is founded on: complete and utter ignorance and self-absorption.
I mean, to be fair, Christopher Columbus obviously he wasn't, not that you could be American back then because there was no America, so he was also a foreigner.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, okay, so there were these brothers, right? The Giudica Cordiglia brothers. They were two Italian brothers. They were amateur radio operators. And they made radio recordings back in the 60s. And they allegedly have evidence that supports this theory that the Soviet program covered up cosmonaut deaths back in the 60s. So they claim to have recorded audio of several secret Soviet space missions that ended in death and mystery. Since they came out with this has been like the strongest piece of evidence because these recordings are out. Well, actually, I'm not completely sure they're out there. I didn't look before. If they are out there, I will insert something now. But if not, I'll just tell you, like, there's allegedly a recording from these brothers that you can hear a cosmonaut like slowly, like faintly asking for help, like he's on the verge of death, and like I guess he's in like a failed spaceship. You can barely make out the Russian because it's so faint or whatever, and he sounds like he's dying and he's just sad, and so it's like some real sad shit.
Oh, jeez.
That's just one of the recordings. There's more. I'm sure they're similar. There's one of like a guy that like I'm guessing that was the other mission that also failed. Which was a lot more violent. Like, allegedly his spaceship caught on fire, and he was like, you could just hear screams I guess as he re-enters. It's confusing. It's pretty sad if this is real, and those are allegedly the recordings, and some people claim to have heard them. I mean, this has generated interest in this theory for over 50 years. So this is like the staple evidence, right? So one of the guys that I was talking about earlier, Vladimir Ilyushin, the guy who I said was captured by the Chinese government and then held, and he died in China. Like his background is he was a Soviet airplane designer and a pilot, and people think that the Soviets at that point recruited him because he was like a very good pilot or whatever, and so people allege that he was actually the real first man to have gone to space back in April 7th of 1961. So we have a very specific date. Even though people say no, it was actually Gagarin, it was Yuri on the 12th of 1961 of April. So what, 5 days later? So it's like real close. I'm talking like real close. Like if these cover-ups were real, like they were sending out spaceships out there like nobody's business, like really trying to. I mean, it was a space race for a reason, right? Like they wanted to get in, and they did. Like they beat us to space. Anyway, so 2 days before this guy was set to launch, according to this theory, which in real life, well, the official story is that he was never meant to launch because he was never recruited. Just try to keep this straight in your head. I know it's confusing, but according to this, 2 days before he was set to launch, so April 5th, 1961, there was an announcement that he had been involved in a serious car crash. This is super confusing. Okay, so the theory that like this guy went to space and then came back and was caught by the Chinese is one theory. There's another theory That is that the guy went to space, died up there, and the Soviet Union put out this news that he had died in a serious car crash. The official story is that this guy died in a serious car crash. You know, so are you connecting the dots? So what I'm trying to say is people think that no, he didn't. He actually died up there, or for all we know, was caught by the Chinese, and so the Soviets just killed his, just killed him, just quote unquote killed him. You know what I mean? Like in a car crash for there to be like closure. Oh yeah, he died in a car crash because we have no idea what happened to him. So yeah, thoughts.
Yeah, that's highly suspicious and really weird. Um, I don't know though. I still don't know because I feel like there's not anything to prove that it's not real, but also nothing to prove that it is, you know?
I guess like with that piece of evidence, the last one that I presented, to me the biggest thing is that this guy was a top Soviet pilot at the time, and there are rumors that he was trying to like they were trying to recruit him for this program, and then for him to die suddenly in a car crash, like a couple days before the first man in space, and also combined with the fact that there were rumors that they were trying to recruit him, like it all kind of lines up to something kind of spooky and fishy. Like maybe they did recruit him, maybe he did go, maybe he just died, but they couldn't have the PR, so they gave him a different death since he still needed a death in the papers, right? So it's I don't know, it's fishy. Just the timing, I guess the timing for me is fishy. So
Yeah.
okay, I actually have something else that I want to talk to you about, if you're ready.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the Planet X conspiracy theory. Have you heard about it?
Oh, yes, I have, but I want to hear your spin on it.
Basically, I'm sure a lot of people have too, because this was a big deal back in 2012 when the world ended, because it did end, let's be real, it ended and now we're in a simulation, and that's why we have Trump in office. So
Oh my god.
back in 2012 people were like, oh my god, like the world's gonna end, but the reason it's gonna end is because there's gonna be this big ass planet called Planet X, also known as Nibiru, that's gonna like crash into Earth and kill us all. That's basically the theory. Like that was gonna happen. It didn't happen, unless you do believe that we are in a simulation. Then it did not happen. Yeah, people were like, okay, the solar system actually has this giant planet, and it is in orbit, but somehow it's gonna like spin out of orbit or something like that. It's unclear. So yeah, apparently we had a 10th planet, if you count Pluto as a planet, which is not. Sorry, Pluto, get out. And it was supposed to be like enormous, and like its orbital path would bring it too close to Earth soon, and that was gonna like destroy us with its gravitational pull. It's unclear like how, if it's one of our planets. I'm sure it must have like, like completed its orbit once before. So how come it didn't destroy the Earth before? Like its orbit 4 billion years. 'Cause, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the only way. This would be the first time it orbits. Anyway, yeah, people were like, there's gonna be earthquakes and fucking tsunamis everywhere when the planet's getting close, and so the Earth is gonna get destroyed. So it wasn't actually gonna crash, but it was gonna like, with its gravitational pull, like fuck up the Earth and everything in it. NASA at the time, I remember this. Like they had to put out a statement because people were legit ass freaking out about 2012 and Planet Nibiru, and they were like, "Listen, hoes, there is no Planet Nibiru. If there was a planet the size of fucking Venus, because like Nibiru was supposed to be like the size of Jupiter or something stupid like that, or like bigger, and they were like, if it was the size of Venus, like you would be able to see that, like you'd see that." If it was slightly bigger, you'd definitely see that. Like, if it was the size that it purports to be, then you'd definitely see that coming. We definitely would see it coming. We look at the sky all the time. Shut the fuck up. So it was basically the statement they put out, verbatim. And then people were like, oh, okay. But then they were still freaked out. But then 2012 happened, and then they were like, oh, never mind. And that's Planet X. The real conspiracy theory is... is there dumb powder in the water because people are so dumb? That's the real conspiracy theory.
I think that there probably is. I think that we drink it in troves, and it's probably why Trump is in office.
Okay, yeah, so that's what we have, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you liked our theories. They were all fucking stupid. Yeah, we'll be back with more next week. If you listen, I didn't take this episode very seriously. I just kind of wanted to have fun. I thought these were fun. I like, granted, the cosmonaut theory is like a little more like, okay, oh, I see that, like, I see how that could happen, okay, but really, like, we started this episode out thinking, Shannon and I, like, oh, we'll both do like a hollow moon, and then we realized this is so dumb, there's not enough dumbness for the two of us to share, so you know what, you do that, I'll do something else, and I just did a couple equally dumb theories. So that's what this episode was. If you liked it, I'm glad. So yeah, if any of you have any episode ideas for future episodes, please do let us know. You can DM us at Talk Scary on Twitter, or at Scary Talk on Facebook. You can also find us on all podcast listening platforms. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, etc. Shannon, anything else?
Have a wonderful night.
Yeah, you have a wonderful night. Do not look at the moon, but if you do, remember that it's made out of cheese and it's hollow and you can swim inside it, and that's great. That's beautiful.
It is.
So yeah, the moon's not real. Mothman is real. Shannon's vagina and mine are real.
Oh my God.
Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.